7 years into my marriage, I thought it was rock solid. That night, when I came home from working late, and pushed open the door, I saw Brittany beneath my childhood best friend, Chad, her face contorted in an expression of infatuation I'd never seen before. In that moment, my world crumbled. Ethan. The moment Brittany saw me, her face went ashen. She frantically pushed Chad away and grabbed the bedsheet to cover herself. I stood in the doorway, feeling my blood run cold. Ethan, let me explain. Explain what? My voice was colder than ice. Explain that you two were discussing the company's business. Chad got dressed, his face devoid of any remorse. Instead, he had a defiant look. Look, man, since we've been caught, I won't pretend anymore. Brittany and I have been together for 2 years. 2 years. I clenched and unclenched my fists. For 2 years, I had worked tirelessly every day, wanting to give her a better life. Every time I worked late into the night, I'd think about rushing home to be with her and Leo. Mom, Dad, are you two fighting? My 8-year-old son, Leo, stood in the doorway, rubbing his eyes, his little face filled with confusion. Brittany panicked instantly. Leo, go back to your room and sleep. Mom and Dad aren't fighting. I knelt down and hugged my son. Leo, Dad will take you back to your room. After settling Leo, I returned to the living room. Brittany was already dressed, sitting on the sofa, her head bowed in silence. Chad, however, was still standing there, looking completely unfazed. Ethan, since everything's out in the open, we should talk about the company. Chad lit a cigarette. Brittany has been very happy with me these past 2 years, much happier than she ever was with you. I sneered. So you think I'll just hand the company over to you? The company was always ours. A partnership. Chad blew out smoke rings. As for Brittany, Shez made her choice. Brittany finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. Ethan, I am sorry. I never thought it would come to this. Never thought. I walked toward her. Then what were you thinking? How to deceive me? How to fool around with another man in my bed? Her tears fell. I fell in love with him. I couldn't control myself. Love. I found the word utterly ironic, coming from her. What about Leo, then? He has a congenital heart condition, and needs regular treatment. Chad flicked off the cigarette ash. He's your son. So naturally, he's your responsibility. Brittany is coming with me. We'll have our own children. I looked at them, feeling like a complete joke. 7 years of marriage, 7 years of friendship, crushed underfoot by them. Fine, if that's how you want it, then that's how it'll be. My voice was frighteningly calm. But before we finalize the divorce, I want you both to be prepared to be scorned by everyone. Brittany looked up at me, fear in her eyes. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? I took out my phone, and pulled up the video recording I had just made. Of course, I'll let everyone see how my wonderful wife and best friend betrayed me. Her face instantly turned ghostly pale. Chad, however, remained unimpressed. If you dare send that out, I'll destroy the company. Oh really? I sneered. Go ahead and try. I dialed my father's phone number. Dad, wake up for a moment. I have something important to tell you. The phone rang 3 times before he picked up. My father's voice was heavy with sleep. Ethan, what's so urgent this late? Brittany cheated with. There was silence on the other end of the line for a few seconds. Then came my father's furious, gritted teeth voice. Those 2 animals. Brittany trembled when she heard that. Even though my father was retired, he still had significant influence in this circle. If she offended him, Brittany would find it impossible to get by in this city. Dad, you know about the company, too. Chad wants to take it all for himself, in his dreams. My father roared. I'll find a lawyer tomorrow. Those 2 will definitely pay for this. After hanging up the phone, the atmosphere in the room dropped to freezing point. Chad's arrogance completely vanished. Ethan, we can talk about this properly. You want to talk now? Too late. I looked at both of them. Starting tomorrow, you 2 can just wait to face the consequences. Brittany suddenly lunged forward and hugged my leg. Ethan, I was wrong. I truly was. Please, can you forgive me just this once? I looked down at her. This woman I had loved for 7 years, now seemed so utterly foreign to me. Forgive. I gently pushed her away. Brittany, as of tonight, Any lingering sentiment between us has been repaid. What's left is to settle accounts. The next morning, I received a message from my father, had already contacted a lawyer, and a meeting was set for 3 p.m. I quickly got ready and left. I hadn't slept a wink since last night, but I felt unusually clear-headed. When I arrived at the company, Chad wasn't there yet. I walked straight into the finance office, and began pulling up all the company's accounts for the past 2 years. As partners, Chad held 40% of the company's shares, and I held 60%. However, I had always been responsible for the actual operation and management. While he often acted like a hands-off boss, Brenda, the CFO, saw my grim expression and cautiously asked, "Mr. Ethan, is there an issue with the accounts? Brenda, please compile a detailed list of all Chad's expenditures from the past 2 years for me." Brenda paused for a moment. "Mr. Chad's personal expenses?" "Yes, including any transfers he made from the company account to anyone." "Understood. I'll get to it right away." Around 10 o'clock, Chad finally strolled in. He walked into my office, still wearing the triumphant look from last night. "So, buddy, have you thought about it? Let's make this amicable. We'll split the company 50-50, and Brittany comes with me." I kept my head down, looking at the financial report. 50-50. Yeah, he's divorcing Brittany anyway, so why make things difficult for everyone? I finally looked up at him. "Chad, how much money from the company have you spent buying things for Brittany?" His expression froze instantly. "Bags, jewelry, cosmetics, and that BMW." I listed them one by one. "A total of 1.2 million. That's a company benefit for employees." "Employee?" I sneered. "When did Brittany become an employee of our company?" Chad started to sweat. "Ethan, I can return that money to the company." "Return the money?" I stood up. "Do you think this is just about money?" Just then, Brittany pushed the door open and entered. She wore elaborate makeup and the designer coat I had bought for her, looking polished and radiant. "Ethan, can we talk alone?" I looked at her, recalling her appearance beneath Chad last night, and my stomach churned with nausea. "Say whatever you have to say right here." She glanced at Chad, then hesitated. "Ethan, about last night, I want to explain." "Explain what?" "Explain how you two were cheating in my bed." Her face instantly flushed. Can you stop being so crude?" "Crude?" I almost laughed out of anger. "Brittany, you did something like this, and he complaining that my words are crude." Chad patted her shoulder. "Brittany, no need to waste time with him." "Ethan, what do you want? Just get to the point." I took out my phone, and played the video recording from last night, turning the volume up to maximum. The room was immediately filled with unbearable sounds. Brittany's face turned ashen. She lunged forward, trying to snatch my phone. "Stop playing it. Turn it off." I easily dodged her. "What, now you feeling shy? Ethan, is there any point to what he doing?" Chad said through gritted teeth. "We're all adults. Isn't it normal to find someone else after breaking up?" "Normal? I put my phone away when you two were having an affair. I was still your husband and brother. You call that normal?" Brenda knocked and entered at that moment, holding a document. "Mr. Ethan, the information you requested is ready." I took the document, quickly scanned it, and my expression grew increasingly grim. "Chad, for the past 2 years, you've used the company's money not only to buy things for Brittany, but also transferred her $300,000 in cash." Brittany's face turned completely white. Chad still tried to argue, "That was my personal affair." "Personal affair? You used the company's money." I slammed the document onto the desk. "This is embezzlement. It's a crime. You wouldn't dare call the police." Chad blustered, but his voice lacked conviction. "What good would calling the police do you? The company's reputation would be damaged too." "Reputation?" I sneered. "Compared to being betrayed by 2 scoundrels, what's a reputation?" I picked up the phone on the desk and started dialing. "Is this 911? I want to report a crime." "Wait." Brittany panicked. "Ethan, please don't call the police. Chad just made a mistake." "A mistake?" I looked at her. "What about you? Was having an affair with him also a mistake?" Her tears fell. "I know I was wrong. I truly do." The call connected. I spoke into the receiver. Hello, I want to report my business partner for embezzlement, involving an amount of 1.5 million. Chad completely panicked. Ethan, are you crazy? This won't benefit anyone. I hung up the phone and looked at the two of them. No benefit. Seeing you two get what you deserve is a huge benefit to me, and this is just the beginning. The police arrived quickly, watching's pathetic state as he was led away. A sense of grim satisfaction welled up inside me. Brittany collapsed onto the sofa, tears streaming down her face. Ethan, how could you do this? This is too cruel to Chad. Cruel. I looked down at her. 2 years ago, when you were stabbing me in the back, did you ever think about being cruel? She choked out. We never meant to hurt you, never meant to hurt me. I found it almost amusing. Then what was having an affair in my bed? An expression of love. The other employees in the office were whispering, their gazes at Brittany filled with scorn. This news would soon spread throughout the entire company, even the entire industry. My phone rang. It was my father. Ethan, the lawyer is all set. Also, I've contacted a few friends. It'll be difficult for Brittany to survive in this circle now. Thanks, Dad. Silly boy. My son, if I don't help you, who will? My father's voice was filled with anger. We must make them pay for this. After hanging up, I saw Brittany looking at me, with pleading eyes. Ethan, please don't do this to us, at least consider the 7 years. We were married sentiment. I sneered, when you were having an affair with Chad, did you ever think about our married sentiment? She had no answer. I continued. Furthermore, do you think this is over? Brittany, the game has just begun. At 3 p.m., I arrived at the law firm on time. Rachel was one of the most outstanding lawyers in the city, specializing in business disputes and marital cases. In her early 30s, she was capable and astute, with an excellent reputation in the industry. Mr. Ethan, I've familiarized myself with the basic situation. Rachel flipped through the document. From a legal standpoint, you have a decisive advantage. I want the most decisive outcome. I stated directly, property division, share transfer, custody. I want to win every single point. Rachel nodded. No problem. Chad's suspected embezzlement is very beneficial to our case. As for Brittany, she cheated first. So according to the pre-NUP, she won't get anything. Pre-NUP. Did you forget? The property agreement you signed when you got married contained a clear clause. If either party cheats, they leave with nothing. I remembered. My father had insisted we sign it 7 years ago. Brittany had been reluctant at the time, and I had convinced her. I never thought that decision would save me today. Furthermore, regarding your son's custody, Rachel continued, considering's questionable moral character, the court is very likely to grant you custody. I'll make proper arrangements for Leo. Leaving the law firm, my mood lightened considerably. At least legally, I was in an unassailable position. Back home, the nanny told me Leo was in the room, and hadn't come out all afternoon. I knocked and went in, seeing my 8-year-old son sitting on the bed, hugging his favorite teddy bear. Leo, what's wrong? He looked up at me, his eyes red-rimmed. Dad, is Mom going to leave us? My heart ached. I sat on the bed and hugged him. Why do you ask that? A lot of people called Mom today, and she kept crying. Leo whispered. She left after her calls and hasn't come back yet. I was silent for a moment. Leo, Mom and Dad might live separately for a while. Why? His tears fell. Is it because I am sick? Does not like me anymore? No. Leo. I hugged him tightly. This has nothing to do with you. Dad's most precious treasure. Then can I stay with Dad? Of course. Leo will always be Dad's son. Just then, I heard footsteps outside the door. Brittany was back. She pushed the door open and came in, seeing and I embracing. A flicker of pain crossed her face. Leo, Mom and Dad need to talk. Can you go to the living room and watch TV for a bit? Leo looked at me, and I nodded. Go on, Dad will come join you in a bit. After left, Brittany slowly walked over to me. Ethan, I've received so many calls today. My friends are all blaming me, blaming you. I looked at her indifferently. They are right. Why did you have to make such a big deal out of this? Her voice held anger. What good does this do Leo? No good for Leo. I stood up, letting him know what kind of person his mother is. That's the greatest protection for him. My words stung her. You, how can you talk about me like that? How do I talk about you? Brittany, you were the one who betrayed this family first. My voice was cold. Now, isn't facing the consequences only natural? She was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, Ethan, if I break up with Chad, can we start over? I looked at her, finding her expression utterly ridiculous at that moment. Start over. I shook my head. Brittany, do you think that's possible? We have Leo. We have 7 years of history. I cut her off. You had an affair with Chad for 2 years, and now you want to talk about history with me. Her tears fell again. I know I was wrong. I am willing to change. It's too late. I turned and walked toward the door. The lawyer will contact you tomorrow. Pack your things and move out of this house. Ethan, she called out behind me, are you really going to be so heartless? I stopped, but didn't turn around. Heartless. Brittany, do you have the right to use that word? As I left the room, I heard her muffled sobs from behind me, but there was no ripple in my heart. This woman had utterly broken my heart. A week later, things progressed even more smoothly than I had imagined. Chad was officially indicted for embezzlement, and bail was denied. Brittany lost her last pillar of support, and she looked utterly haggard. As for me, I was in Rachel's office, discussing the final property division plan. Mr. Ethan, according to the pre-NUP and the existing evidence, Brittany is indeed supposed to leave with nothing. Rachel pushed up her glasses. However, considering the child, you could consider giving her some living expenses. No need. My stance was firm. An agreement is an agreement. It cannot be compromised for any reason. Rachel nodded. As for custody, Leo stays with me. There's no room for negotiation on that. Just then, my phone rang. It was the nanny calling from home. Mr. Ethan, Mrs. Brittany was just here. She took Leo. My heart tightened. When did this happen? Just 10 minutes ago. She said she was taking Leo for a checkup at the hospital, and I didn't stop her. I immediately stood up. Ms. Rachel, I have an emergency. Do you need help? Not yet. I rushed home. Sure enough, Leo wasn't there. I tried calling Brittany, but her phone was off. A sinister premonition welled up inside me. I drove to a few places Leo often went to, the hospital, the amusement park, her parents' place, but couldn't find him. Just as I was growing frantic, Brittany finally called back. Ethan, Leo's with me. Her voice was calm. We need to talk. Where did you take Leo? Somewhere safe. She paused. Ethan, I've thought it through. Since you want to go all out, I won't hold back either. Brittany, what do you want? I want you to drop the charges against Chad, agree to an amicable divorce, and give me a $5 million settlement. No way. I said furiously. Do you think kidnapping Leo can threaten me? Kidnapping? She sneered. I am his mother. How is taking my own son kidnapping? She was right. Legally, she was. Before the divorce was finalized, she had the right to take the child. What do you want? I suppressed my anger. I just told you, drop the lawsuit, amicable divorce, $5 million. Why should I agree to your demands? Because of Leo's illness. Her voice turned malicious. Ethan, have you forgotten? Leo needs regular medication and regular checkups. Now the medication is in my hands, and so are his medical records. My blood nearly froze. You wouldn't dare. He's your own son. Precisely because he's my son, I wouldn't genuinely hurt him. Her tone softened. Ethan, agree to my terms, and it'd be better for everyone. I clutched my phone tightly, feeling an unprecedented rage. Brittany, you truly surprise me. Every man for himself, she said. You forced my hand. Fine, I agree to meet and talk. I forced myself to calm down. But you must guarantee Leo's safety. Of course, I don't want to hurt him either. The usual place. In an hour, after hanging up, I immediately called Rachel. Ms. Rachel, something's happened. What's wrong? I briefly explained the situation. Rachel pondered for a moment. Mr. Ethan, this is indeed tricky. But don't worry, I have an idea. What idea? Since she wants to negotiate, well, negotiate with her. However, during the discussion, we can record the conversation to prove she's threatening you, and then, well, use that as grounds to apply for emergency custody transfer. Rachel explained. Even though she's the child's mother, if we can prove her misconduct, and that she's threatening the child's safety, The court will consider it. My eyes lit up. Feasible. I'll start preparing the relevant documents right away. When you go to the meeting, remember to start the recording. An hour later, I arrived at the agreed-upon location, the coffee shop, where we had our first date. Brittany was already waiting for me there. She was sitting in a corner booth, her face haggard, but her eyes still firm. Leo was next to her. He tried to run over when he saw me, but she held him back. Dad. Leo reached out to me. Leo, come here to Dad. I suppressed my inner rage and walked toward them. Ethan, please sit. Brittany's tone was calm. Let's talk properly. I sat down, secretly activating my phone's recording feature. All right, state your terms. As I said, drop the lawsuit. Amicable divorce. 5 million. What makes you think you can threaten me? I am not threatening you. I am just fighting for what I deserve. She glanced at Leo. Leo needs a stable environment, not to see his mom and dad tearing each other apart. Stable environment. I sneered. You had an affair with another man for 2 years, and you call that stable? Her face flushed, and her voice trembled slightly. That's in the past. Let's talk about now. Brittany, do you think he's still in a position to negotiate? I looked at her. The court's ruling will be issued soon, and he'll have nothing. Oh really? She suddenly sneered. Ethan, have you forgotten about Leo's medication? She took a medicine bottle from her bag. It was Leo's heart medication. Without this, he won't last 3 days. Leo heard this, and his face filled with dread. Mom, my medication. Don't worry, Leo, your medication is with Mom. It's safe. She stroked her son's head, then looked at me. Ethan, do you see now? I clenched and unclenched my fists. This woman truly had no bottom line. Chapter 5. Looking at the medicine bottle in Brittany's hand, I felt an unprecedented mix of anger and despair. Mom, I don't feel well, Leo said quietly, his face even paler than before. My heart clenched. He couldn't stop taking his heart medication, not even for a day. Brittany, give me the medication. I tried my best to remain calm. Leo needs his medication, of course. Her smile sickened me. Agree to my terms, and the medication is yours. I took a deep breath. Are you really going to use our son's life to threaten me? This isn't a threat. It's a negotiation. She corrected my words. Ethan, we once loved each other. Do you really want to see me left with nothing? Love. I found it laughable. If you truly loved me, you wouldn't have done something like this. Leo suddenly started coughing, his face growing even paler. I knew his condition was flaring up. Brittany, Leo needs his medication immediately. She looked at her son. A flicker of heartache crossed her face, but quickly she regained her resolve. Agree to my terms. I gritted my teeth. Fine, I agree. A flicker of triumph crossed her eyes. Good. Ethan is still very sensible. She unscrewed the medicine bottle, poured out a pill, and handed it to Leo. Leo took the pill and quickly swallowed it with water. Seeing my son's face improve slightly, my heart eased a little. Now, can I have the medication? Not yet. She put the medicine bottle back into her bag. Let's sign the agreement first. She pulled a document from her bag. This is the agreement I drafted. Take a look. I took the document and quickly scanned it. Besides the terms we discussed earlier, there were some additional demands, such as me not being able to prevent her from taking Leo on international trips. This isn't an agreement, it's blackmail. I slammed the document onto the table. Call it what you want. She shrugged. No signature, no medication. Leo watched our argument, his eyes filled with fear. Mom, Dad, please don't fight anymore. My heart softened. The child shouldn't have to endure this. All right, I'll sign. I took out my pen and signed my name on the agreement. Every stroke filled me with humiliation, but for Leo, I had to endure it. After I signed, Brittany, satisfied, collected the document. Ethan, a pleasure doing business with you. Now, give me the medication. But she shook her head. No, what if you go back on your word once you have the medication? Brittany. My voice was low, but my anger was unmistakable. Don't push your luck. I am protecting myself. She stood up. How about this? I'll hold on to the medication for now, and I'll bring it to Leo every day. You, what? Is that not acceptable? She raised an eyebrow. Or are you planning to go back on your word? I gave her a long, hard look. Brittany, you'll regret this. I have nowhere left to retreat. so how can I regret anything? She gave a bitter laugh. Ethan, you forced me to this point. With that, she took Leo's hand. Leo, let's go home with Mom. Dad. Leo looked at me reluctantly. Go on, Dad will pick you up tomorrow. I forced back the pain in my heart, and stroked his head, watching their retreating figures. I clenched my fists. Brittany, do you think you've won? I immediately called Rachel. Ms. Rachel, I have the recording. Excellent. I'll prepare the documents right away, and submit them to the court first thing tomorrow. Rachel's voice was excited. You've recorded all her threats to you, and the child? Yes. Clearly. Then there's no problem, Mr. Ethan. Just bear with it for a few more days, I promise, and make her pay. After hanging up, I returned to my empty home. The nanny saw me come back alone, and asked with concern, Sir, where's Leo? He's with his mom for now. I sat down on the sofa, feeling exhausted. Just then, my phone rang again. It was an unfamiliar number. Hello, may I speak to Mr. Ethan? This is he. Who is this? I am a nurse from Maplewood Center. A woman named Brittany, claiming to be your wife, wants to access your son's medical records. My heart sank. Did you give them to her? Not yet. We need your permission. Absolutely do not give them to her. I said urgently. Do not give her any medical information about my son. Understood. I won't. After hanging up the phone, I felt a surge of worry. Brittany already had Leo's medication. If she got his medical records too, her leverage would increase significantly. I had to act fast. The next morning, Rachel contacted me. Mr. Ethan, good news. The court has accepted our emergency application. The hearing is at 2 p.m. this afternoon. That fast. Because it involves a child's safety, the court is taking it very seriously. Are you ready? I am. At 2 p.m., I arrived at the courthouse on time. Brittany was also there, her face pale, clearly not expecting me to retaliate so quickly. Mr. Ethan, you accuse Ms. Brittany of threatening your safety and your child's. Do you have any evidence? The judge asked. Rachel immediately submitted the audio file. This is yesterday's recording. It clearly captures Ms. Brittany's threats. The judge listened carefully to the recording, and her expression grew serious. Ms. Brittany, do you have any explanation for this recording? Brittany's lawyer stood up. My client was merely seeking a reasonable distribution of assets, and did not threaten anyone seeking reasonable distribution. Rachel retorted. She explicitly stated she would use medication to control the child. That is a clear threat. Brittany finally spoke. I was merely trying to protect my rights. Protecting your rights is not a justification for threatening a child's safety. The judge interrupted her. Based on the evidence presented, I hereby order an emergency custody transfer. The child will temporarily be under the father's guardianship. Brittany's face instantly went deathly pale. No, you can't do this. Leo needs me. Ms. Brittany, please observe court order. The judge rapped her gavel. Furthermore, you must immediately hand over the child's medication. Brittany slumped onto her chair, her eyes filled with despair. I had finally won the first round, but I knew this was just the beginning. After regaining Leo's custody, I thought things would calm down. However, Brittany didn't give up. Dad, Mom came to the school again today. Leo walked through the door with his backpack, his little face full of confusion. My teacher said I couldn't leave with her, and she kept crying at the school gate. I put down the document in my hand, knelt down, and hugged my son. Leo, you don't need to worry about Mom. Dad will handle it, but looked so sad. Leo's eyes were filled with compassion. Dad, can we really not forgive Mom? Children are always kind, but some things cannot be forgiven. Leo, some mistakes, once made, are simply made. You can't forgive them just because you feel sorry for someone. I gently stroked his head. It's like at school. If a classmate deliberately broke your things, would you still be friends with them? Leo thought about it, then shook his head. No, exactly. Mom did something that hurt Dad, so we can't be together anymore. What about Uncle? Does he not want Mom anymore either? Hearing that name, my expression instantly turned cold. Chad was still in the detention center, awaiting the court's final verdict. Had probably served time in prison for a few years. Uncle did something bad. So the police won't let him out? Liu nodded, seeming to understand and yet not quite. That evening, I received a phone call from Rachel. Mr. Ethan, did Brittany go to your son's school today? Yes. Fortunately, the school had my instructions, so they didn't let her take Leo. She's been doing this for a week straight, Rachel said. I am worried she might take more extreme measures. What do you mean? We need to apply for a restraining order, prohibiting her from approaching you and the child. Is that possible? Of course. I've already prepared the relevant documents. We can submit them tomorrow. The next day, I was in a meeting at the company, when my secretary rushed in. Mr. Ethan, someone's causing a disturbance downstairs. My heart sank. I rushed downstairs. Sure enough, I saw Brittany standing at the company entrance, holding a sign. It read, Ethan steals, refuses to provide wife expenses. A crowd had gathered around, watching, and murmuring, that woman is so pathetic, her husband is so rich, but he won't even give her a cent for living expenses after the divorce. Rich men are all like this now, they get money and then they turn bad. She's even pregnant. This man is too ruthless. Pregnant. I looked closely. Brittany had stuffed something under her clothes, making her stomach look noticeably swollen. Ethan. Brittany immediately raised her voice when she saw me appear. Out. If you're so brave, come out and confront me face to face. I walked towards her, striving to remain calm. Brittany, what do you want? I want what I deserve. Her voice was loud, clearly intended for the surrounding crowd. Leo is my son. I have the right to see him. The court has already ruled. Leo's custody belongs to me. You bribed the judge, she retorted irrationally. Does a mother not even have the right to see her own child? The crowd grew even more agitated. Exactly. No matter what, she's still the child's mother. This man is too much. He shows no mercy, and claiming she cheated. Who knows if that's even true? I felt a headache coming on. Brittany was trying to manipulate public opinion, hoping to achieve her goals through public pressure. Brittany, if you want to talk, let's go home and talk. Don't cause a scene here. Home? Where is my home? She sneered. You kicked me out, and now you say go home and talk. Just then, several reporters suddenly rushed forward, snapping photos, and recording us. Mr. Ethan, I heard that because your wife cheated on you, you not only made her leave with nothing but also prevented her from seeing her child. Is that true? Mr. Ethan, don't you think your actions were too ruthless? I realized this was all Brittany's doing. She had contacted the media, hoping to use public opinion to turn things around. Everyone, this is my private matter, and I have no comment, I said, turning to leave. Brittany suddenly lunged forward and grabbed my leg. Ethan, please. Just let me see Leo, okay? I've truly changed. Chad and I are completely over. Flashbulbs flared wildly as reporters eagerly snapped photos. I forcefully pushed her away. Brittany, that's enough. She intentionally wailed loudly. Ethan, I am still carrying your child. Are you really going to make your child grow up without a mother? What? I stared at her in shock. Was she actually claiming the child in her belly was mine? I was certain we hadn't been intimate for over half a year. If she was truly pregnant, the child absolutely couldn't be mine. Brittany, don't just make things up. I am not making things up. She clutched her belly, tears streaming down her face. Our last time was 3 months ago, have you forgotten? The crowd of onlookers gasped. The reporters grew even more excited. Mr. Ethan, what's your response to Mrs. Brittany's claim that she's pregnant with your child? I felt a wave of dizziness. This move by Brittany was truly vicious, regardless of whether the child was mine or not. As long as she claimed it, public opinion would swing to her side. I need a paternity test, I said coldly. Fine, I agree to a paternity test, she instantly replied, but until the results are out, you can't stop me from seeing Leo. I gave her a long, hard look. This woman was truly capable of anything. Brittany's grand theatrical performance had indeed worked. The next day, the internet was flooded with news reports about us. The headlines were sensational. Heartless CEO forces wife to beg on streets. Mother right to see child. Wealthy too. Most netizens sided with Brittany. calling me cold-hearted and saying that wealthy men were all unfaithful. I sat in my office, looking at the malicious comments on the computer screen, and a wave of powerlessness washed over me. Did the truth truly matter that much? The public only wanted to believe what they wanted to believe. My phone rang. It was Rachel. Mr. Ethan, the situation isn't looking good. Her voice sounded grave. Due to public pressure, the courthouse has decided to reopen the custody case. What do you mean? If is truly pregnant with your child, the judge might consider separation detrimental to the child, and look into reinstating her visitation rights. I felt a headache coming on. What about the paternity test? She agreed to it, but she insists on waiting until the child is born to do a non-invasive test. She says she's worried about risks since she's only 3 months pregnant. 3 months? I sneered. Isn't that precisely when she was having an affair with Chad? Yes, but she's adamant the child is yours, and claims you two were intimate 3 months ago. I thought back to that period. Indeed, we hadn't completely broken off contact 3 months ago. Although our feelings had faded significantly, we still occasionally had marital relations. Ms. Rachel, is there any way to verify this earlier? Yes, but it would require an amniocentesis, which does carry some risk, and she would absolutely never agree to it. I was silent for a moment. So what do we do now? We can only wait. But, Ethan, I think you should prepare for the worst-case scenario. Hanging up the phone, I leaned back in my chair, feeling an unprecedented weariness. Brittany's move was truly brutal. Even if the child wasn't mine, public opinion had already swayed in her favor. Before the results were out, just then, a knock came at my office door. Come in. To my surprise, it was my father, who entered. Dad, what brings you here? My father walked up to me, his face grim. Ethan, it's all over the news now. They are saying you're disowning your own child. Dad, the child might not even be mine, but everyone thinks so, my father said, sitting down. Ethan, I think you've gone too far this time. I stared at him in shock. Dad, what do you mean? Even though Brittany made a mistake, she did give birth to a child for our family. After all, my father sighed, and now she's pregnant again. How will outsiders view our family if you treat her this way? Dad, I exclaimed, standing up agitatedly, have you forgotten how she betrayed me? I haven't forgotten, but Ethan, you need to leave some room for civility, my father said calmly. Wouldn't it be better to give her some money and let her leave gracefully? I couldn't believe my ears. Even my own father was starting to side with Brittany. Dad, what if this child isn't mine? Then you should give her even more money. As compensation, my father replied. Ethan, business is like warfare. Sometimes, paying your way out of trouble is the wisest choice. I looked at my father, suddenly feeling a deep disappointment. It seemed that in their eyes, money could solve all problems, while dignity and principles were insignificant. Dad, I won't compromise. My tone was firm. If wants to play games, he'll play them to the very end. My father frowned. Ethan, don't be so temperamental. This isn't temperamental. These are my principles. I interrupted him. Dad, please respect my decision. My father looked at me for a moment, then finally shook his head. Have it your way, but don't blame me for not warning you. Sometimes, stepping back can open up new possibilities. After seeing my father out, I sat alone in my office. The curses from outside and my family's lack of understanding made me feel more alone than ever before, but I couldn't back down. Brittany thought she could force me into submission using public opinion. She was wrong. I picked up my phone and dialed a number. Hello, is this City Echo Daily? This is Ethan. I'd like to give you an exclusive interview. Since wanted to wage a public opinion war, I would see it through to the end. The next day, City Echo Daily published my exclusive interview. The headline read, Ethan to heartless claims, there's only truth. In the interview, I detailed Brittany's affair and how she threatened me and my child. I also released parts of the original recording, but the effect was far from ideal. Many people believed it was a fabricated story I made up to shirk responsibility. The online abuse grew even louder. Wealthy people just know how to spin stories. Any recording could be fake. How could you slander a pregnant woman like that? It's too much. Even if she really cheated, it's because you weren't a good husband. I shut down my computer, my heart filled with a sense of helplessness. It seemed that until the identity of the child in Britannia's belly was confirmed, I would always be at a disadvantage. But I wouldn't give up. No matter how difficult, I had to prove my innocence. 3 months passed, and Britannia's belly grew larger and larger. Every week, she would appear downstairs at the company or at Leo's school entrance, using her pregnant status to gain sympathy. Every time I saw her pathetic display, I felt a wave of nausea. "Dad, Mom was here again today," Leo said as he came home from school, his face full of confusion. "My classmates all say Mom is pitiful, and a bad person." "Dad," I knelt down and hugged my son. "Leo, don't listen to those words. Dad isn't a bad person. Dad is just protecting you," but looks truly sad. Leo's eyes were filled with compassion. "She has my little brother or sister in her belly, doesn't she?" The child's words tugged at my heart. If that child truly was mine, was I being too heartless? But my reason told me that child absolutely couldn't be mine, because at the time Brittany got pregnant, I clearly remembered being on a business trip. I wasn't home for an entire week. "Leo, whether the child in her belly is Dad's, or not, well, know once he's born," I said, stroking my son's head. "Until then, we need to be patient." Leo nodded, seeming to understand yet not fully. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello, is this Mr. Ethan?" "It is. Who's calling, please?" "I am Chad's sister, Amy." Chad's sister. A warning bell went off in my mind. "What do you want with me?" "Mr. Ethan, I'd like to meet with you. I have something very important to tell you." "What is it?" "It's about my brother and Brittany. I have some information you might find interesting." I hesitated. "All right, when and where?" "Tomorrow at 3 p.m., at the coffee shop, the one you two used to frequent." The next afternoon, I arrived at the coffee shop on time. Amy was already waiting for me. She was in her 40s, looking rather plain, with a tired expression on her face. "Mr. Ethan, thank you for agreeing to see me." She stood up and shook my hand. "Please sit," I said. "You mentioned having information about your brother and Brittany." Amy nodded and took a USB drive from her bag. "This contains Chad's phone backup, including his chat logs with Brittany." I took the USB drive, my heart racing. "Why are you giving this to me?" "Because I think you deserve to know the truth." Amy sighed. "Chad may be my brother, but I don't condone what he did." "What's in these chat logs?" "You'll see when you look." She paused. "Also, regarding Brittany's pregnancy, what about it?" I urgently asked. "She is indeed pregnant, but the child definitely isn't yours." My heart gave a sudden thump. "How do you know?" "Because hadn't been arrested yet when she got pregnant. He told me Brittany was carrying his child, and they originally planned to get married after the baby was born." I clenched my fist. "Then why did she claim the child was mine?" "Do you even need to ask?" "For money, for custody." Amy gave a bitter smile. "She thought that would force you to compromise." I took a deep breath. "Thank you for telling me all this." "You're welcome. I just didn't want to see an innocent person get hurt," Amy said, standing up. "Mr. Ethan, I want to apologize for my brother's actions. It's not your fault." After seeing Amy off, I hurried home and opened my computer to check the contents of the USB drive. The chat logs inside detailed Chad and Brittany's 2-year affair. Most crucially, there was a voice message from Brittany to Chad. "Chad, I am pregnant, it's your baby, but wants to divorce me now, so I want to claim this child is his so I can get more money." Anne's reply: "Good idea. That fool won't be able to find out anyway. Once I am out, well, take the kid and disappear." After reviewing these records, I felt a wave of disgust. These two truly had no bottom line. I immediately called Rachel. "Ms. Rachel, I have crucial evidence." "What evidence?" "Evidence that proves the child in Brittany's belly isn't mine." "That's wonderful." Rachel's voice was excited. "Mr. Ethan, please send me the evidence right away. I'll submit it to the courthouse tomorrow." Hanging up the phone, I felt a sense of relief I'd never experienced before. "Brittany, your lies are finally about to be exposed. This time, I am going to make you pay the price you deserve." The next day, Rachel submitted the new evidence to the courthouse. The courthouse decided to convene an emergency hearing for the case. As soon as the news broke, the media erupted. I sat in my office, watching the reporters gathered outside the window, my emotions mixed. Finally, the truth was about to come out. At 2 p.m., the courtroom was packed. Brittany sat at the defendant's table, her face pale. She clearly hadn't expected me to present this evidence. These are Chad and Brittany's chat logs, Rachel said, handing the evidence to the judge. They clearly show Brittany explicitly admitting the child in her belly is Chad's, and planning to falsely accuse my client. The judge carefully examined the chat logs, his expression growing increasingly serious. Ms. Brittany, do you have any explanation for these chat logs? Brittany's lawyer immediately stood up. The authenticity of these chat logs needs to be verified, and cannot be used as a basis for judgment. Authenticity. Rachel scoffed. We can request a technical assessment to prove these records haven't been tampered with. Brittany finally spoke, her voice trembling. These records are real, but I was just speaking nonsense in a fit of anger at the time. A murmur swept through the courtroom. She actually admitted the chat logs were real. So you admit that the fetus in your womb is indeed Chad's? The judge pressed on. Brittany lowered her head, her voice barely a whisper. Yes. Then why did you lie in court, claiming the child was Mr. Eaton's? Brittany was silent for a long time before finally saying, I just wanted some compensation. Another uproar erupted in the courtroom. Reporters in the gallery furiously documented the scene. The judge rapped his gavel. Silence. Ms. Brittany, your actions constitute serious perjury, the judge said, his tone very stern. You not only lied in court but also attempted to defraud Mr. Ethan of his assets. I know I was wrong. Brittany began to weep, but this time, no one sympathized with her. Based on the available evidence, this court renders the following judgment. The reinstatement of Brittany's custody rights is revoked, and full guardianship of Leo is granted to his father, Ethan. Furthermore, in light of Brittany's fraudulent actions, this court will transfer relevant materials to the prosecutor's office, who will decide whether to press charges. Court adjourned. The moment the gavel fell, I felt the heavy burden on my shoulders finally lift. Brittany slumped in her chair, her lawyer beside her attempting to console her, but she was beyond listening. Stepping out of the courthouse, I was swarmed by reporters. Mr. Ethan, do you have any comments on today's verdict? There is only one truth, and I never wrongly accused Brittany, I said, facing the cameras, my tone calm. One can forgive someone for making a mistake, but using a child for fraud, that is unforgivable. Mr. Ethan, what are your thoughts on Brittany being prosecuted? Everyone is equal before the law, and she should bear responsibility for her actions. The next day, all major media outlets reported on the trial. The tide of public opinion completely turned. I can't believe Brittany dared to tell such a lie. Using a child for fraud, that's just too much. I used to sympathize with her, but now it seems Ethan was the victim all along. It's true what they say, a woman's heart can be the most venomous. I sat in my office, looking at the overwhelming online comments, but my mood wasn't as light as I'd imagined, although I had one. The cost of this battle was too high. Leo had lost his mother, and I had lost my trust in marriage. Most importantly, our entire family had become fodder for gossip. Just then, my secretary knocked and entered. Mr. Ethan, a Ms. Rachel is here to see you. Please send her in. Rachel walked into my office, a smile on her face. Mr. Ethan, congratulations on your ultimate victory. Thank you, Ms. Rachel. I couldn't have done it without you. It's what I do, she said, sitting down. However, Mr. Ethan, there's one more matter that needs to be handled. What is it? It's about the company's share distribution. Now that Chad has been sentenced, his shares need to be dealt with. I nodded. I understand. I'll buy his shares. Also, regarding Brittany's fraud case, what about it? The prosecutor's office has decided to formally prosecute her. If convicted, she might serve time in prison for several years. I was silent for a moment. I understand. Rachel noticed my hesitation. Mr. Ethan, you're not getting soft, are you? No. I shook my head. She should pay for her actions. Good. Rachel said, standing up. Mr. Ethan, this matter is completely over. You can start a new life now. A new life? Yes, it's time to start anew. But could I truly start over? 6 months later, Brittany's fraud case finally settled. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison, with a 2-year suspended sentence. Chad was sentenced to 5 years in prison for embezzlement. This man, once a brother I trusted, was now serving time in prison, and I could finally live in peace. Dad, the teacher said there's a parent-teacher conference tomorrow, Leo said, putting down his backpack and running to my side. All right, Dad will go tomorrow, I said, stroking his head. Leo, are you still settling in at school? Since left, Leo had become much more sensible. He no longer asked about his mother, and no longer cried about not seeing her. I am settled, and my classmates are all nice. Leo smiled. Dad, we have a new music teacher in our class, and she's very pretty and gentle. Oh, really? Yeah, and she said she's not married yet, Leo said, blinking his eyes. Dad, do you want to go see her? I couldn't help but laugh. Leo, are you trying to set Dad up? The teacher said every child should have a dad and a mom. Leo said seriously. Dad, don't you want a new mom? A new mom? It would be a lie to say I wasn't tempted. For the past 6 months, raising Leo alone had indeed been very tough, and needed a mother's care too. Dad will think about it, I reassured my son. The next day, I attended the parent-teacher conference as planned. Leo's music teacher was indeed very pretty, appearing to be in her late 20s, with a gentle voice and a pleasant demeanor. Mr. Ethan, Leo is very talented in music, she said, initiating conversation. He plays the piano very well. Thank you for the compliment, Ms. Chloe, I replied politely. Leo often mentions you, saying you're very busy and it's tough raising him alone, she said, a hint of concern in her eyes. Being a single-parent household is indeed not easy, I nodded, saying nothing more. After the parent-teacher conference, Chloe proactively asked for my phone number. If has any issues at school, I can contact you promptly. Thank you. Back home, Leo impatiently asked me, Dad, what do you think of the music teacher? She's great, very responsible. I mean, do you think she could be my mom? Leo asked directly. I paused. Leo, you can't force feelings. But I like her, and she's very nice to me, Leo said earnestly. And she likes you, Dad. I can tell. The child's words stirred something within me. Indeed, the way Chloe looked at me just now held a special meaning. But after Brittany's betrayal, could I ever trust love again? Just then, my phone rang. It was Rachel. Mr. Ethan, Brittany's child has been born. Oh, I replied, my tone flat. It's a boy. She wants to see you. See me. I was somewhat surprised. What does she want? I am not sure. But she said she has something important to tell you. I hesitated. All right, arrange it. The next day, I arrived at the prison visiting room. When appeared before me, I barely recognized her. She had lost a lot of weight, her face was sallow, and she had completely lost her former luster. Ethan, her voice was weak. Tell me, what do you want to see me about? I asked, getting straight to the point. I want to see Leo. Her eyes were filled with tears. Ethan, I know I made many mistakes, but Leo is my son. I want to see him. The courthouse has already revoked your visitation rights. I know, but I am begging you, she pleaded, almost desperate. Just one visit, please, just one. I looked at her, a swirl of mixed emotions inside me. The once vibrant woman had been reduced to this state. Brittany, do you think he's still fit to be Leo's mother? She was silent for a long time before finally shaking her head. I am not fit. I know I am not. But, I truly miss him, she said, beginning to cry. I think about him every day. I am going crazy from missing him. Watching her weep, a wave of sadness suddenly washed over me, not for her, but for the relationship we once shared. Brittany, let what's past be past, I said, standing up. Leo is doing well now, and doesn't need you, Ethan, she called out behind me. I know I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. I didn't look back and walked directly out of the visiting room. Some mistakes, once made, are made. They won't be forgiven just because of regret. Some people, once lost, are lost. They won't come back because of tears. Stepping out of the prison, I sent a text message to Leo's music teacher. Chloe, if you have time, I'd like to invite you to dinner, to thank you for taking care of Leo. Soon after, she replied, sounds great, I'd love to. Looking at my phone screen, I smiled. Perhaps it was time to start a new life. Brittany had taught me the most important lesson in life. Cherish those close to you, but also learn to let go. From now on, I would be more careful in protecting myself and Leo, but I wouldn't let past hurts deter me from future happiness. Life had to go on, and I was ready. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like and share with your friends. We also look forward to your honest thoughts in the comment section. Feel free to leave a comment and interact. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. New stories updated daily. See you in the next one.